How do we find what's true in a world that's just so full of noise? It's a question we all grapple with, scrolling through endless feeds and breaking news. But honestly, it's not a new question at all. Today, we're going to dive into a really ancient text that confronts this very problem head-on, the Japji Sahib. So let's explore the answers it offers. It all starts with one single, incredibly profound idea. One. So this opening verse, it's known as the Mool Mantar, or the root mantra. And it's not really a prayer, it's more like definition. It lays the groundwork for everything else, describing the single creative force that is truth. It's a force without fear or hatred, it's timeless, and it exists completely beyond the cycle of birth and death. This is the ultimate reality the text is inviting us to understand. And get this truth isn't some fleeting thing. The text really emphasizes its permanence. It existed before time, it exists right here and now, and it's going to exist forever. This tells us we're not talking about some subjective truth that changes with our opinions, but a fundamental constant of the entire universe. Okay, so if this ultimate truth exists, how do we actually connect with it? Well, the Japji Sahib first looks at all the ways we try to find it and why our usual methods, everything from our modern hustle culture to ancient spiritual practices, might just fall short. Let's start with our go-to tool, right? Our intellect. Can we just think our way to understanding something infinite? In our age of big data and analytics, the text answer is a pretty radical no. It's kind of like trying to fit the entire ocean into a teacup. It's just not going to work. This creative force it's describing is way beyond the grasp of logic and reason alone. It doesn't matter how many times you try to intellectualize it, it just stays beyond thought. All right, so if thinking doesn't work, what about trying the exact opposite? What if we just empty our minds and sit in perfect silence? Now, what's really interesting here is the distinction the text is making. It points out that just forcing outer silence doesn't automatically create inner peace. The text suggests that even really deep, absorbed meditation, by itself, isn't the key to unlocking this ultimate truth. So let's switch gears from internal stuff to external stuff. What about achieving success, piling up wealth and possessions? Surely that's got to fill the void, right? And again, a really clear answer. This is such a profound statement on desire, isn't it? It basically says that no amount of retail therapy or worldly success can ever satisfy a spiritual hunger. That hunger just operates on a completely different level. Okay, one last try. What if we're just not being clever enough? Can we use our strategies, our life hacks to finally figure this all out? And there it is. All our clever schemes and strategies, they're ultimately powerless in this quest. They're just temporary tools for a temporary world. So the text has just systematically dismantled all of our usual methods for finding truth. And all of this leads us to the absolute core of the Japji Sahib. After showing us everything that doesn't work, it poses the one pivotal question. This is it. This is the big one. If thinking fails, and silence fails, and wealth fails, and cleverness fails, what is the path forward? How do we break through all the distractions and finally perceive what's real? And now, after all that, the text provides its answer. It introduces a concept that is absolutely central to its entire philosophy. See, the answer isn't a technique you have to perform, but a state of being you enter. It's to walk in the way of hukam. But what does that actually mean? Hukam is the divine will, the cosmic order. You can almost think of it like the universe's underlying operating system. It's not an app you can control, but it's the fundamental code that allows everything else, from gravity to consciousness, to even function. It's the force that creates, sustains, and governs absolutely everything. So, what does it actually look like to live in a universe that's governed by hukam? Well, the text goes on to explain just how all-encompassing this cosmic will truly is. According to the text, everything. By this divine will, bodies are formed and souls enter them. By this will, some achieve greatness while others are laid low. Both pain and pleasure, blessings and aimless wandering, it all just unfolds within this single cosmic order. And this leads to the ultimate outcome. Once you truly understand that everything, and I mean everything, operates within this cosmic will, what happens to the ego? You know, that part of us that insists on being in the driver's seat? It starts to dissolve. because it recognizes it's part of a much grander, perfect design. So if we can't fully think our way to this reality, but we can try to align with its will, how do we even begin to talk about it? The final verses we're going to look at explore this beautiful, very human impulse to try and describe the indescribable. People try from countless angles. Some see this force through its sheer power. Others experience it through its gifts and blessings. Some focus on the endless cycles of creation and destruction. And for others, yeah, it just feels very, very far away. All of them are just valid human perspectives, each one capturing a tiny fragment of an infinite whole. And that leaves us with a final, profound question to carry with us. By recognizing the limits of our own efforts and the boundless nature of this divine will, maybe the path isn't really about finding all the right answers, but about learning to live gracefully within the mystery itself.